First of all, I don't agree with the topic that the day the music died. I don't think the music's ever dead or ever going to die. I think what we have is a different kind of a problem. I think now more than ever, I think today Indian people are consuming music more than ever before in the history of, I think, our country. Indians are passionate. I think we probably have the biggest creator community in the world in terms of languages, genres, and kinds and styles of music. I think there is, whether it's original or kind of inspired, is a different matter, but the fact is, from the moment we are born till the moment we die, it's all set to music. So therefore, we are probably one of the biggest consumers of music, unlike, say, in other forms of media where consumption is an issue. I think in music, consumption is not an issue. We consume it. I think what the problem exists now is how do we actually build a business model that is scalable both for companies as well as for artists. In that, I think there are two aspects of piracy. Obviously, piracy is one where I think, as Mr. Agarwal mentioned, that there is a consumer-driven piracy in the sense that how do you compete with free? And there are a multitude of websites, multitude and easy ways to get either cassettes, CDs, or even downloads. Now, that's been an issue that's been plaguing the industry since, I think, almost formatted music came into play. And the laws have actually, despite what Mr. Kapoor says, the laws exist. I think it is really a matter of, I think, 2 or 3 specific issues. One is the priority within, I think, the administrative systems itself, be it at the police level, be it at the judicial level, in terms of, I think, awareness and training as to how important is piracy, the economic importance of that, the cultural importance of that, and more importantly, I think the livelihood that actually comes off the back of that. The second, obviously, is the consumers, in which in terms of education, as well as the fact that they are not necessarily essentially consuming that. There's a simple joke in the music business where copyright essentially is read as right to copy, which is really not the case. I think consumers need to believe that this is actually an economic asset that needs to be, I think, consumed and paid for. But having said that, I think, as I said, consumption right now is at an amazing cusp. We've seen, I think, on the back of smartphones, internet, cheap devices, etc., the fact that music is now pervasive, is all accessible. What we now have to do, I think, in terms of solutions is probably coming to doing 2 or 3 things. The first, I believe, is obviously, I think, in terms of the digital world, though there is ease to consumers, there's also technological solutions to actually try and curb piracy, be it from websites that are emanating from, say, Pakistan, to app stores that are essentially selling abilities to be able to download and use music. That's kind of easy to do, relatively easy to do. I think the courts, there are a number of orders coming along, but it needs to be scaled. I think the second problem, and I believe that needs to be addressed collectively between the industry, the government, and all the stakeholders, is a massive education and awareness campaign to the judicial, administrative, and the consumer level. That is something that we need to find a way to finance, something that we need to find a way to support, as well as look for the media industry and the artist community to support us. The third, I think, is we obviously need to co-opt the creative community. As recently as 20 years ago, for every successful artist, royalties from music sales used to be almost 50% of their earnings, and live income, which is really them performing, used to be the balance 50%. Now, not only in the West, even in India, the importance of selling recorded music and the money that goes back to the artist has essentially come down to less than 5%, and almost all the money they make now is in performances. So even the artists now really view music as a promotional vehicle rather than a commercial vehicle. So that's something that we actually need to co-opt them, and they don't see economic value, considering that India is languishing at number 22 in the world in terms of size. At its peak 10 years ago, we used to be number 14. Just to use, I think, the example of a market that can quickly turn it on was China. China used to be number 21 2 years ago. They've just kind of cracked down on piracy on the 3 big ISPs that they have. They've become number 14 market this year. The plan is they will probably become number 7, and they'll probably be the world's biggest market by 2019 at $2 billion, all because they basically managed to be able to shut the tap, as well as essentially get a consumer-paid economic model that kind of cyclically is building day on day. So I think we're sitting at the cusp of a great moment. It's not as depressing as the title sounds. I think that collectively we can all kind of work together to try and make this actually a bright future for all of us.